63% of drivers don't trust auto repair shops, and once you hear these scams, you'll see exactly why. You go in for a simple tune-up and somehow your bill is hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars more than expected. But what if I told you that a lot of those urgent repairs are completely unnecessary? Mechanics use fear, misinformation, and even outright deception to drain your wallet without you even realizing it. Today I'm exposing 13 of the most common scams mechanics use to overcharge customers, scare them into expensive repairs, and sell them things they don't actually need. I'll break down exactly how these scams work, how to spot them, and most importantly, how to avoid them. And make sure you stick around to the end because I'll reveal one simple rule that will ensure you never fall for a mechanic's trick again. The urgent fluid flush. Your coolant looks terrible. You need a flush immediately. This is one of the most common scams you will encounter at auto repair shops. The moment you walk in for a routine checkup, some mechanics will try to convince you that your vehicle's fluids are dirty, contaminated, or breaking down, and they will insist that you need a flush right away. They might even show you a sample of murky or darkened fluid, claiming it is proof that your car is in desperate need of maintenance. But here's the truth. Most vehicle fluids, including coolant, transmission fluid, and brake fluid, are designed to last between 50,000 and 100,000 miles before they actually require replacement. Despite this, many mechanics push fluid flushes as early as 30,000 miles, sometimes even sooner, just to make an easy profit. The reason shops push this service so aggressively is that it is incredibly profitable for them while being mostly unnecessary for you. A standard coolant flush can cost anywhere between $100 and $300 depending on the shop and the vehicle. Transmission and brake fluid flushes can be even more expensive, but the worst part, if your fluids are still within their recommended lifespan, flushing them too soon does absolutely nothing for your car's performance or longevity. You are essentially throwing money away. So how do you avoid falling for this scam? Always check your car's owner's manual for the manufacturer's recommended maintenance schedule. If your manual states that your coolant, transmission fluid, or brake fluid is still good for another 20,000 miles, trust it over any mechanic's sales pitch. But fluids are not the only thing they push on you early. What about your brakes? The brake pad scare. Nothing makes a driver more anxious than the thought of their brakes failing. Mechanics know this, and some shady shops exploit that fear by convincing customers to replace their brake pads much earlier than necessary. They will claim that your brake pads are dangerously worn down, that your car is no longer safe to drive, and that you must replace them immediately. But here is what they are not telling you. Most brake pads do not need replacement until they wear down to 3 millimeters in thickness. Despite this, some mechanics will start pushing replacements when the pads are still at 5 millimeters or even higher. Brake pads naturally wear down over time, and replacing them is essential when they actually reach a critical thickness. However, premature replacements serve no real benefit except for padding the shop's profits. A full brake job, including pad replacement and possible rotor resurfacing, can cost anywhere from $200 to $600 depending on your vehicle. This means a dishonest mechanic can make hundreds of dollars off a customer who simply does not know what to look for. A reputable mechanic will use a brake pad gauge or caliper tool to measure the thickness and show you the exact reading. If they refuse to show you a measurement and instead insist you just take their word for it, consider that a major red flag. The second step is to listen to your car. Many vehicles today come with built-in wear indicators, small metal tabs that create a squealing sound when the pads actually need replacement. If your brakes are not making any noise and your manual suggests they still have life left, you are probably fine. And speaking of unnecessary replacements, let's talk about your air filter. The dirty air filter trick. If you have ever gone in for an oil change or routine inspection, you have probably heard this one before. The mechanic pulls out a dirty, dust-covered air filter, holds it up dramatically, and insists that it is clogging your engine and needs to be replaced immediately. It looks convincing. After all, the filter they are showing you is filled with dirt, dust, and even dead bugs. But here is the catch. Is that really your air filter, or is it just a dirty one they keep in the shop to scare customers? Many car owners do not realize that air filters actually last much longer than mechanics let on. Most vehicles only require a new engine air filter every 15,000 to 30,000 miles, and in normal driving conditions, even a slightly dirty filter is not harmful to your engine. The same applies to cabin air filters, which typically last even longer unless you regularly drive through extremely dusty or polluted environments. Despite this, some shops try to convince customers to replace their air filters far more frequently than necessary, often at every oil change. Why? Because air filters are easy easy money. A mechanic can charge anywhere from $50 to $100 to replace an engine or cabin air filter, even though the part itself usually costs between $10 and $20 online. The best part? Replacing an air filter is one of the easiest do-it-yourself car maintenance tasks. It often takes less than 5 minutes. But what about the most terrifying light on your dashboard? Let's talk about the check engine light. The mystery check engine light. Imagine this scenario. You are driving down the highway, everything seems fine, and then suddenly, that dreaded check engine light flickers on. Your heart sinks. The moment you take your car to a repair shop, the mechanic furrows his brows, sighs heavily, and says, "This could be a serious issue. It might cost over $1,000 to fix." Panic sets in. You do not know anything about engines, and the last thing you want is to break down in the middle of nowhere. But here is the real question. Is the problem actually serious, or are they just using scare tactics to upsell you on expensive unnecessary repairs? The check engine light is one of the most common ways mechanics take advantage of unsuspecting drivers. Since most people do not understand how engine diagnostics work, it is easy for a dishonest mechanic to make vague claims like your oxygen sensor is failing or your catalytic converter is damaged. The reality? Many check engine light issues are minor. Something as simple as a loose gas cap can trigger it. But without knowledge, drivers often end up paying for unnecessary work. The best way to avoid getting scammed is by understanding what the check engine light actually means. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, a significant portion of check engine alerts are caused by minor, easily fixable problems. Instead of immediately believing a mechanic's expensive recommendation, take control of the situation. And speaking of things you might not actually need, let's talk about synthetic oil. The synthetic oil upsell. You bring your car in for a routine oil change, expecting to pay the standard price for conventional oil. But then the mechanic leans in with a serious look and says, "Your car really needs synthetic oil. It is way better for your engine." Maybe you hesitate for a second, unsure what to do, but then you agree because after all, you do not want to risk damaging your car. Congratulations, you just fell for one of the easiest scams in the book. Synthetic oil is indeed a high-performance option, designed to last longer and withstand extreme conditions. However, here is what mechanics will not tell you. If your car does not specifically require synthetic oil, you do not need it. According to Consumer Reports, 75% of vehicles run perfectly fine on conventional oil, yet many repair shops push synthetic oil because it costs nearly twice as much as conventional, giving them an easy profit boost. The key to avoiding this scam is simple. Check your owner's manual. If your manual recommends conventional oil, there is absolutely no need to switch to synthetic. Mechanics often use scare tactics, saying things like synthetic reduces wear or your engine will last longer, but the reality is, unless your car is a high-performance sports car or you are regularly driving in extreme temperatures, conventional oil is more than sufficient. Before you approve any oil change, check your oil cap or owner's manual for the specific type required. Most cars require an oil like 5-weight 30 conventional, which is significantly cheaper than synthetic. But what about parts? Let's talk about the fake factory-only parts requirement. The fake factory-only parts requirement. You take your car to the dealership for a repair, and before you even sit down, the service advisor gives you an ominous warning. You have to use factory parts, or your warranty will be void. That sounds serious, right? After all, no one wants to accidentally void their warranty. But what if I told you this is nothing more than an expensive lie? Dealerships and some mechanics push original equipment manufacturer parts, also known as factory parts, by claiming that aftermarket parts will either void your warranty or cause serious performance issues. But here is what they will not tell you. Many aftermarket parts are made by the same manufacturers that produce original equipment manufacturer parts, just without the car brand's label. The only difference is the price. A part labeled as original equipment manufacturer might cost 2 to 3 times more than an aftermarket equivalent, even when the quality is identical. For example, if you own a Honda Civic and need a new oxygen sensor, the dealership may charge you $250 for an original equipment manufacturer part. However, you could purchase an aftermarket equivalent for $75 and both would function the same way. The National Automotive Parts Association found that nearly 90% of aftermarket parts perform just as well as original equipment manufacturer parts. Mechanics pushing original equipment manufacturer parts often do so for one simple reason: higher profit margins. Before agreeing to any repair, ask if there is a high-quality aftermarket option available. In most cases, your warranty will still be valid as long as the replacement part meets manufacturer specifications. The Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act specifically protects consumers from having their warranties voided simply for using third-party parts or independent repair shops. And now, let's talk about how some repairs are just completely fake. The phantom repair. Imagine paying hundreds or even thousands of dollars for a repair that never actually happens. This is one of the most infuriating scams out there because you are not just being overcharged, you are being outright deceived. In some cases, mechanics will claim they replaced a part or performed a service, but in reality, your car never actually received the repair. One of the most common examples is the phantom fuel pump replacement. A mechanic tells you that your car's fuel pump has failed, insists on replacing it, and then charges you a hefty fee. The problem? The original fuel pump was never removed, and your car is still running on the same part it had before. The worst part is that, unless you check, you might never know you were scammed. This scam extends beyond fuel pumps. Some shady mechanics claim they have performed a transmission flush, timing belt replacement, or even changed out spark plugs, but the work was never actually done. Since many drivers do not inspect their vehicles after a repair, these dishonest shops get away with charging for services that never occurred. So how do you protect yourself? The first rule is simple. Always ask to see the old part that was removed from your vehicle. If they claim they threw it away, that is a red flag. A trustworthy shop will always be willing to show you the replaced component. Another way to catch this scam is by requesting before and after photos of the repair. A good mechanic should have no problem providing visual proof that the work was done. And speaking of scams, what if I told you they sometimes charge you for labor that never even happened? Inflated labor hours. Most people understand that labor costs are a part of car repairs, but what happens when a mechanic charges you for hours of work that they never actually did? This is a common trick called labor inflation, where shops bill you based on a set book time rather than the actual time it took to complete the job. Here's how it works. Repair manuals and industry guides assign estimated labor times for different repairs. For example, replacing an alternator might be listed as a 2-hour job. However, an experienced mechanic can often complete the task in 30 minutes or less. But instead of charging you for the time they actually spent, they bill you for the full 2 hours. That extra time you are paying for, pure profit for the shop. This scam becomes even more blatant when a mechanic stacks multiple repairs together. Let's say you are getting your brakes and rotors replaced along with a wheel alignment. The book time for each repair is listed separately, but in reality, mechanics often do them together, cutting down the total time significantly. Yet the shop still charges you for each job as if they were done separately. To avoid falling victim to inflated labor charges, do your research before agreeing to any work. Websites like RepairPal allow you to compare labor rates and see fair price estimates for different repairs based on your vehicle's make and model. If a shop's quote seems way too high, ask why. You can also request a labor breakdown that details exactly how many hours they are charging you for each service. Finally, always get a written estimate before the repair begins. If the final bill exceeds the estimate by more than 10% without prior approval, you have the right to dispute the charge. Transparency is key. If a shop cannot clearly explain their labor costs, it is time to take your car elsewhere. And now, let's talk about the infamous free inspection trap. The free inspection trap. Who does not love the word free? That is exactly why this scam works so well. Many repair shops advertise free inspections to lure customers in, only to hit them with a long list of supposed urgent repairs. By the time they are finished explaining all the problems with your car, you could be looking at a bill for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Here's how the scam plays out. You bring your car in for a simple oil change or a tire rotation, and the mechanic offers you a free inspection. Since it does not cost anything, you agree. A short time later, the mechanic returns with bad news. Your brake pads are almost gone, your belts are cracked, your suspension is failing, and you need a new battery. They use words like critical and dangerous to make you feel like your car is on the verge of breaking down. This high-pressure tactic is designed to push you into approving unnecessary repairs on the spot. Many drivers panic and agree to the work without verifying whether these repairs are truly needed. The reality: some of these issues might be exaggerated, while others may be completely made up. So how do you avoid this trap? First, never approve repairs immediately after a free inspection. Instead, ask for a detailed breakdown of the issues and get a second opinion from another shop before spending any money. A trustworthy mechanic will be happy to show you exactly what is wrong and explain why the repair is necessary. Another good habit is to familiarize yourself with your car's maintenance schedule. Your owner's manual will tell you when things like brake pads, belts, and fluid flushes actually need to be replaced. If a mechanic tells you that you need a repair much earlier than the manufacturer recommends, they may be trying to upsell you, and if you think that is bad, wait until you hear about the shock and strut scam. The shock and strut upsell. When you bring your car in for routine maintenance, you might hear a mechanic say that your shocks and struts are dangerously worn and need to be replaced immediately. This is a common scare tactic designed to push unnecessary replacements long before they are actually needed. The truth is that shocks and struts typically last anywhere between 50,000 miles and 100,000 miles, depending on road conditions, driving style, and vehicle load. However, some shops will try to convince you that your suspension system needs an overhaul as early as 60,000 miles, even if there are no noticeable issues. One reason mechanics push this unnecessary service is because replacing shocks and struts is an expensive job. A full replacement can cost anywhere from $1,000 to over $2,000, depending on the make and model of your vehicle. Since it is a labor-intensive process, repair shops see it as a high-profit opportunity. Instead of telling you the real condition of your shocks and struts, they rely on fear-based language like, "Your car is unsafe to drive," or "You are putting yourself and your passengers at risk." So how do you know if your shocks and struts actually need to be replaced? The simplest way is to do a bounce test. Press down firmly on the hood or trunk of your car and then release. If your vehicle bounces more than twice before settling, your suspension components may be wearing out. Another sign is if your car feels excessively bouncy or unstable when driving over bumps, takes longer to stop, or has uneven tire wear. If none of these symptoms are present, your shocks and struts are likely still in good condition. And now, let's talk about a scam that's actually kind of hilarious: blinker fluid. Fake products like blinker fluid. This scam is so absurd that it sounds like a joke, and yet some shady mechanics actually try to push fake products like blinker fluid on unsuspecting customers. While most experienced drivers would immediately recognize this as nonsense, there are plenty of people, especially new drivers or those unfamiliar with car maintenance, who might fall for it. Blinker fluid does not exist. It is a made-up product often used as a prank among car enthusiasts. However, dishonest mechanics sometimes use similar tactics to convince drivers that their car needs a non-existent or completely unnecessary service. Some have even been caught charging for headlight fluid, muffler bearings, or high-performance air conditioning lubricant, none of which are real automotive products. Even when mechanics do not outright invent fake products, they often push overpriced versions of everyday items. One example is premium windshield washer fluid. While a standard gallon of washer fluid costs around $5 at an auto parts store, some dealerships will charge $50 or more for what they claim is a special formula that will make your windshield cleaner and last longer. In reality, it is often the same product you can buy at any retail store. Another common scam is fuel injector cleaner. While there are legitimate fuel system cleaners available, many modern fuels already contain additives that prevent carbon buildup. Some shops push injector cleaning services that cost over $100 but have little to no effect on your vehicle's performance. So how do you avoid these scams? First, if a mechanic recommends a product or service you have never heard of, take a moment to research it before agreeing. A quick online search can usually tell you if it is a real product or just an upsell tactic, and always compare prices. But even real repairs can come with hidden tricks, like overcharging for simple fixes. Overcharging for simple fixes. This scam is all about taking advantage of a driver's lack of knowledge. Many routine car maintenance tasks take only a few minutes to complete and require minimal effort, but repair shops will charge outrageous labor fees for these simple services. The most common example is the cabin air filter replacement. A typical cabin air filter costs between $10 and $20, and in most cars, it can be replaced in less than 5 minutes by simply opening the glove compartment and sliding out the old filter. However, some mechanics will charge over $150 for the service, justifying the cost with inflated labor fees. Another frequent scam involves windshield wiper replacements. Swapping out old wiper blades is a simple process that usually takes less than 2 minutes, but some shops will bill customers $70 or more for labor alone. Other common overpriced repairs include replacing engine air filters, battery swaps, and light bulb changes, all of which can be done at home with minimal effort. To avoid falling for this trick, always research how difficult a repair actually is before agreeing to pay for it. Many routine car maintenance tasks have simple do-it-yourself tutorials available online. If you are not comfortable performing the maintenance yourself, at the very least, compare labor costs across different shops. Some independent mechanics charge fair rates, while dealerships and chain repair shops tend to inflate their prices significantly. Before agreeing to any service, ask the mechanic for a breakdown of parts and labor costs. If the labor charge seems excessive for a simple task, you're likely being overcharged. And finally, let's talk about a lie that dealerships absolutely love to tell. The "your warranty is voided" lie. One of the most common and misleading claims made by dealerships is that your vehicle's warranty will be voided if you do not service your car exclusively with them. They use this tactic to pressure customers into paying inflated prices for oil changes, tire rotations, and other routine services. However, this is completely false. Thanks to the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, which was passed in the year 1975, car manufacturers and dealerships cannot legally void your warranty just because you had repairs or maintenance performed at an independent shop. As long as the service is done correctly and meets the manufacturer's specifications, your warranty remains intact. This means that you are free to get oil changes, brake replacements, and other routine work done at any certified repair shop, or even do it yourself, without fear of losing warranty coverage. Some dealerships also claim that using aftermarket parts will cancel your warranty. Again, this is not true. The law states that manufacturers cannot deny a warranty claim simply because a customer used a third-party replacement part. Unless the part itself directly caused the problem, your warranty is still valid. And to protect yourself, always keep detailed records of your vehicle's maintenance, including receipts and service invoices. If a dealership tries to deny a warranty claim unfairly, remind them of the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act. If they still refuse to honor the warranty, you can file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission or seek assistance from a consumer protection agency. And do not let dealerships use fear tactics to force you into expensive and unnecessary services. Know your rights, keep records, and always question any claim that sounds suspicious. And that wraps up our list. If this video saved you money, make sure to subscribe for more insider car tips.